Hello, I think we're going to get this event started. I think we're going to still have some people trickling in over the next couple minutes. But thank you all for coming out tonight to our Back to School with Electric Buses webinar. My name is Eve, and I'm a Global Warming Solutions Associate with Environment America. And I'm super excited to be joined tonight by Duncan McIntyre and Todd Watkins to hear about their expertise and information about electric school buses. And so before I pass it off to our featured speakers tonight, I'm just going to give a little bit of context on why electric buses are so important and why it's really exciting to be working on them right now. So first off, just what do school buses have to do with climate change anyway? So in the US, transportation is now actually the #1 contributor to the climate crisis. And so I know we're joining in from all across the country today. And so in some shape or form, we've all seen the devastation that climate change can bring this summer. We've seen record-breaking heat waves, devastating wildfires, and intense flash flooding. And scientists are saying that these impacts are coming even faster than they previously expected them to. So we have to do everything in our power to curb the progression of climate change. And the first step to do so is to clean up how we get around. So in addition to impacting our climate, school buses also impact our health. And that's because diesel is a toxic pollutant. It's internationally recognized as a cancer-causing agent and also contributes to respiratory diseases like asthma. Kids, school buses' main passengers, are especially susceptible to these impacts because their lungs are still developing. I'm really excited to introduce our two speakers today, Duncan McIntyre and Todd Watkins. They're going to talk a little bit about how they worked together this year to purchase over 300 electric school buses in Maryland, the largest purchase of electric school buses in history, and about how other school districts can do the same. And so to start,
Eve, appreciate the introduction and sort of the landscape. You get some great statistics there, and it's a good reminder as to why we're all here doing what we're doing, and it's a great vision for the future, frankly. Eve teed it up perfectly. I'm the CEO of Highland. We're a company based in Massachusetts, but with a growing presence around the country. And we focus entirely on school bus electrification. Our perspective is that there's a tremendous amount of interest from the market, but the cost barrier that Eve outlined is spot on. It's one of the key barriers. We would actually add a second barrier, which is complexity. These projects require pretty tight integration with electric utility providers. There's a whole infrastructure design. There's hardware and software decisions and networking, and all these things have to kind of come together in a way that delivers safety and reliability and affordability to operators like Todd. So with that, Eve, maybe we'll dive in. Eve, I think these three things need to be all need to be present in order for fleet electrification to happen at scale. The funding has to be there in one form or another, and that leads to affordability. It's very difficult to ask a taxpayer to, a local taxpayer to, double the price of school bus transportation. Those are difficult discussions at the local level, so they have to be affordable. The health dynamics have to be there, so zero emission at the tailpipe is key, and they have to be really reliable. And that's all aspects have to be reliable: the charging infrastructure, the vehicles, and the ways in which they all integrate. So why is now a good time for Highland and for Montgomery County to embark on this journey? Well, let's talk a little bit more about it. Eve, if you want to flip to the next slide, that would be great. I mentioned these upfront challenges around cost and complexity. I think if you think about an operation like Todd's operation, it's very complex. There are 5 depots. There are 1,400 vehicles. I'm sure he can speak to total staff size, but it's well in excess of the number of vehicles. There are mechanics, there's safety, there's dispatch. There's a lot of pieces in place just to operate that fleet. When you layer in charging equipment and you layer in utility interconnection work and you layer in, how to operate a battery, it's just a new set of complexities. And so we think there's support that can come from folks like Highland with expertise in those areas to really fill in the gaps around what Todd and his team do so well today. So let's flip to the next slide. So what do we offer? We offer what we call an electric fleet subscription. This is really a bundle of financing and services so that the upfront cost can be eliminated as a key barrier, and services that can cut down some of the complexities and establish a real risk transfer from municipalities to entities like Highland. And what that does is lets us bundle these, the equipment and the services needed into sort of a annual fee for a number of miles. So it sort of boils down to a per mile fee.
Now I'm really excited, to introduce our next speaker, Todd Watkins. So Todd Watkins, as I said, is the Director of Transportation at Montgomery County Public Schools, Maryland, and he's been working with MCPS since 1996 and acting in his current position as director since 2009.
Thank you very much, Eve, and thank you, Duncan, for your great summary of how we're working together there. But anyway, we're here to talk about electric buses. And so Eve, if you flip to the next slide, I will talk a little bit about how we got where we are. I'll start by telling you where we were. So I was, as a local director of transportation, hearing lots of information about electric school buses. I was hearing from board members and student groups and environmental groups around me, from political leaders, all saying, hey, you should consider going electric. I was also hearing the big three US manufacturers in a national school transportation meeting saying that they anticipate somewhere in the next 5 to 10 years, either all or almost all of their orders switching over to orders for new electric buses. So I could tell there was lots of interest and really some pressure from all around me. But I had this concern that Duncan talked about the big financial upfront cost. And I figured we could get a grant and buy a bus or two or something like that. But then I was worried about getting all of those groups excited about us starting to electrify, and then it being an effort that we couldn't sustain financially, right? We certainly didn't want to afford, I don't know whether we could have, but we certainly didn't want to afford vehicles that were 3 times the cost of the diesels that we were buying. And so I had a great plan of getting a Volkswagen mitigation grant and going out, and that covered the cost differential of one electric bus that I announced I was going out to buy. And I thought that would make everybody excited that I was at least kind of dipping my pinky toe in the electric waters. And instead it irritated everybody, right? What do you mean only one? And so I was kind of surprised in a bad way by that reaction. And so that wasn't working out so well for me. So next slide. So about that time, I was summoned to a meeting by my county executive, and I was told I was going to meet a company there named by the name of Highland. And so prior to getting to the meeting, I say to many people, I was impressed that Duncan called me up and said, hey, Todd, you're the guy in this meeting that we really want to work with, so I don't want to blindside you in this meeting. And he called and briefed me on what he was going to talk about. So right from the beginning, I was impressed. And so in this meeting, he presented this plan they have, this, what I think is a very visionary and brilliant plan to make the electrification of the diesel school bus fleet cost neutral. And so during the course of this hour or so meeting, I was A, thinking this is too good to be true, but B, thinking if it is true, all of my excuses have evaporated in the course of one meeting. And so my mental wheels were really spinning. Next slide, Eve. So I left the meeting and started immediately investigating the legitimacy of this notion of being cost neutral. I was really, it took me a while to wrap my head around the fact that we could get vehicles that were 3 times the cost and spend no more money than we were already spending on diesels. And so as we started to investigate that, talking to Highland and some others in the market, the more we investigated the claim, the more we found that there really was some legitimacy to it. But Highland's, in our opinion, in our judgment, was by far the most comprehensive and complete. And so we pre-awarded to them and started working on a contract. We hired an outside law firm to help us navigate that venture. And we worked on all the nitty-gritty details of exactly what this would look like. We wanted to enter into a contract that would set us up to electrify our entire fleet, something we would do in a period of about 12 years. We use a school bus in Maryland for 12 years. And so we plan to convert as we retire buses and replace them with new ones. But anyway, we are getting 25 electric buses this fall out of our total purchase of 120. Next year, it'll be 61 electric and the rest diesel. And then after that, it'll be 120 electric buses each year and no more diesels. So from 12 years, from 2 years from now, so 14 years from now, we should have a 100% electric school bus fleet. Next slide. So here's how it works. It's a turnkey project. Based on the information we got in the RFI, we asked for the whole kit and caboodle, right? We asked for the use of the bus, the design, install, and operation of the charging infrastructure, the maintenance of the buses, and the electric they run on. We asked for everything. And some of the other respondents told us we were nuts and you couldn't ask for those things and nobody would provide them, but it turned out that Highland does. And so that's how the proposal works. Next slide. So it actually turns out in the financial model to be the same amount that we otherwise would be spending on the purchase, maintenance, and fueling of diesel buses. It's the same that we're going to spend on the electric bus for about the first 7 years, and then it actually becomes cheaper than the diesels. And that, like Duncan said, that's because of declining EV prices, electric vehicle prices, while diesel prices are increasing, right? Diesel prices have been increasing over the last couple of decades, and that's largely due to new emissions control requirements. So we expect diesel prices to continue to go up and electric school bus prices to go down, just like we've seen with Teslas and other electric cars, and we've seen with every piece of technology we've ever used. Right? It's also cheaper to run on electric than diesel, right? And the maintenance, we think we're going to get 50+% cost savings there. Next slide. So here's why it worked for us, right? So I told you my excuses all evaporated in the course of that meeting with my county executive at Highland. The reason why it worked is that Highland took on all the risks that was keeping me from jumping in. Right, I wanted to go really slowly because I was worried grants would dry up. I was worried we couldn't sustain the high upfront costs. And you know, this thing about vehicle grid, I didn't know anything about that. I understood you could get some revenue from that, but I didn't know any more about it. And so Highland took on all those risks. I know exactly what the 326 electric school buses that we're starting with in the first 4 years, I know exactly what they're going to cost me for their entire 12-year life, because that one price includes everything. The only thing not included is if we wreck the bus, right? So either we pay for it if it was our fault, or the other party pays for it if it was their fault. So if you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer those during the Q&A, or there's my contact information if you want to shoot me an email.
All right, so we are currently at the 6 p.m. mark, and I'm sorry we weren't able to get through all of the questions. We had a bunch coming in. But if you do have any other follow-up questions, I'm just going to drop my email in the chat, and I can make sure to connect you if I can't answer the question myself, or if you would like to contact the speakers directly as well. And so, yeah, just thank you again, everyone, for coming out to this webinar tonight, and thank you so much to Duncan and Todd